So I'm really excited today to show you a new basement apartment that was built by a guy named Van here, Santaquin, Utah. This is the parking area where the renters will park. And this house, like a lot of suburban houses, has lots of parking, so it works out well that way. So Van and Lynn had their house is about 4,000 square feet and 2,000 in the basement. So what they did is they built a 1,000 square foot basement apartment. And then there's 1,000 square feet for Van's office and an exercise room and some storage.
So basically what we did is we just took the existing entrance to the house. It was a walkout basement before. We checked with the city beforehand to see if there was any regulations or anything that we needed to provide for an entrance. But because it was already a walkout, there wasn't anything new that we had to do. They were okay with the existing French doors that we have on it. And so what was kind of more of a from the inside to come back out, it's just going to become the entrance going in. I've replaced the locks and things like that for the tenants, but yeah, it makes for a nice exposed and a lot of light coming in through the doors and through the windows that were already here. So as we were thinking about things that we wanted to do with existing versus what was new, this particular room was a finished basement, all one room, carpeted and everything, with closets that went across this whole wall, and that was where we had our storage and all that. But to give it more room, we decided let's take the closets out and to make a little bit more room for the kitchen area. And because we took the closets out of there, we wanted to provide a little bit more closet storage space. And so when we laid this out, we added this closet just to act as whether it might be a pantry or storage or whatever, just to give them more than just the closets that are in the bedroom. So this was something more that we decided to add. This wall existed, and this is probably going to be the entertainment wall, because there's already a TV cable there and everything. On the other side of this wall is my office where I work during the day. So to cut down the sound from me or from them, either way, we kept the wall that was there that was 1/2-inch drywall. We added a 1/2-inch sound board on top of that, and then 5/8 on top of that, just to give it a little bit more soundproofing between the two rooms. And then on these, because this is a door that goes into our house, it's a solid corridor to cut down the sound. I put weather stripping around it to cut down the sound. And then this also has rock wool insulation inside the wall, as well as 5/8 drywall on it to, again, cut down the sound, just to help it a little bit better. Because this was a basement that we were using previously, the two bedrooms that are now bedrooms were office space. I had a business here, and we had that was office space, and so those are just converted into the bedrooms. So we didn't do anything new to them. The closet was already there in this bedroom. This bedroom in here, this is where my office was, and so this closet was where I stored all my office supplies and the computer, the server computer, and all of that. And so when we took all of that out, we just took the closets out, or excuse me, the shelves out, and just added more shelving that was more closet. And so it's just got wire shelving, double wire shelving, so they could put 2 layers of clothes and that, and it just gives them a little bit more space to use as kind of a walk-in closet feel, I guess. And then the bathroom itself, it's really, I guess, what you would consider a 3/4 bath, because it doesn't have a tub, it just has a shower. But this bathroom wasn't new. We had this bathroom from when we had the offices as well. We just repainted everything and just made it a little bit, cleaned it up a little bit more to prepare for renters. We thought, okay, well, it's just going to be a rental. We really don't want to make it just high end, but we do want to, make it like we would want to live in it, kind of thing. And who knows, maybe this is some place where our kids might end up having to live, or that, they get in a hardship and they want to rent from us or something like that. And so we didn't want to go real cheap, but we didn't, want to make everything custom either.
Okay. So we're talking about the soundproofing in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So you decided, okay, you need to soundproof that better. You took the ceiling down. And then
I wasn't going to at first. I actually had somebody call, and the first thought was to have blow-in insulation. And he came out, and there was insulation here, and he goes, it's not worth it for me to blow it in, because with insulation that already exists, I would basically have to make Swiss cheese out of your drywall and put a hole like every 2 feet, because I can only go so far.
So that was your first idea, to insulate it with just
more insulation, blow it in.
What would you use? Just the pink insulation, or were you going to use some paper insulation?
Whatever
whatever
he told me he would recommend.
So your first thought was that, and then why couldn't they insulate that like that?
Because with insulation that was there, the insulation would come down, and they would only be able to push their hose in so far.
Oh, so you were thinking they could go through all the channels,
just blow it all in.
But it didn't work out that way.
Right.
So then you had to take out the ceiling.
So then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to rip down all the ceilings. So I spent all this time cutting all these tracks, and then ended up having to just pull down all the drywall after all. That would have saved me a lot of time to just knock it all down in the first place.
So you started off helping out the plumbers and the plumber and electrician. And then you're like, well, we screwed that up. You had to. Okay. Now there's basically there's 4 different types of soundproofing. There's the J channels, or they're not called J channels. What are they called?
RC channels.
Channels.
If you Google it, that's what would come up.
RC channels. So if you see, they work like this. Can you just explain a little bit how they work?
So there's two types of
the top.
Well, there's 2 types of sound. There's the decibel sound, which is basically just how loud it is, and insulation will take care of that. But certain insulation does better for soundproofing than other insulation. The insulation that was in here wasn't really that great of insulation, but it kind of deadened a little bit.
Okay, what's the kind of insulation that works?
It was just like an R13.
The kind you want is rock wool.
Rock wool is very soundproof, and it's kind of made out of rocks. Actually, somehow they make it out of
somehow spin it out of rocks or something. Yeah,
but it's called rock wool. You can get it at Lowe's, and it's designed in bats, so you can buy. I think there's 16 lengths of it, 4-foot lengths, 14 and a half to go between studs, and that comes in one bag, and those are like $75 a bag or something.
So you use that, and you have to really pack it in, right?
And it just goes in. It's just gravity fit, just like normal insulation is. After I pulled some of the drywall down, I'm noticing, okay, they didn't do all that great as far as making sure that everything was insulated. So I kind of had to stretch things out, make it a little bit neater, and then I put, besides what was there, in the rock wool. So because the joists are a little bit thicker, there was plenty of room to just push up another 4 inches of insulation into the joists. And boy, you could really,
the more packed it in, the better it is?
Yeah, for sound insulation. But the problem is then when you start touching things, then you start transferring the vibration sounds. So yes, you want to get insulation in to cover the decibels, but if you pack it in too close, it almost becomes a very dense material that then vibration sounds work through it.
So watching this back, I wanted to clarify how the RC channels work. With the anti-vibration clips, and I'll show that to you here. One of the sounds that still gets through quite a bit, if this was your ceiling and you had the sheetrock up with this, even with good rock wool in there, is when people jump on the floor or when they play heavy music. It's the vibration sounds that would still get through that, okay? And the way you deal with that is this is the next method. These are vibration isolators. And what they do is this rubber part would screw to the floor joist. So this is upside down. And then you'd clip this into it. And by screwing the rubber part to the floor joist, that isolates the ceiling from the sheetrock ceiling. So it's an isolation. And Van and Lynn did that, and they did a great job with it.
Music, depending on the music, if it's a real deep bass, then that pounds vibration. But if it's just kind of like a loud treble, it would be sound that would just travel through the air.
Okay, so you did both. You did the rock wool.
I did both.
So that's kind of the best.
Yeah.
Now we talked about this cheaper, where the green, the magic green glue. Mm-hmm. And what does that do? You didn't do that, but
I did in some of my walls around my the framing and things like that. In that particular wall, I added some green glue. The green glue supposedly, and it's some people will tell you it doesn't really work very well, and it's pretty costly to do it. But it's just supposed to absorb the sound.
So it's like a proprietary.
Yeah.
And you used it some.
I did it some just to fill gaps in between, some layers. Like my office is on the other side of that wall. And so I wanted to give it a little bit more soundproof. So I actually put green glue on that, and I put a 1/2-inch sound barrier before I put another layer of 5/8 drywall, just to create a little bit more sound.
So with sound transfer issues, Van and his wife were really worried, and I think they did everything that you should do. I think their budget was pretty healthy with dealing with sound, and you could do less. You could definitely do less. Just putting in rock wool is a great step, and rock wool in conjunction with the green glue method between a couple of sheets of sheetrock can do a great job as well. So he used all the methods, but you can definitely do less and do a good job with sound.